Thank you for joining me during this presentation on adaptive leadership. My name is Kate Wera, and we will be reviewing the framework for this leadership style that can assist people to address change, implement solutions, and thrive. To begin, I wanted to start with some adaptive leaders who believed change needed to occur and mobilize people to assist in their belief. Franklin Roosevelt, President during the Great Depression, showed adaptive leadership in working collaboratively to support change and led with optimism, boldness, and vigor. Abraham Lincoln, he was an adaptive leader in the fact that he supported diversity in both people and voice and selected rivals for his cabinet. And Nelson Mandela, he fought for dignity, freedom, and rights, installing democracy in South Africa. Adaptive leadership was introduced by Ronald Heifetz and Marty Linsky. Both Heifetz and Linsky are from Harvard Kennedy School. This framework for leadership was formulated and has been studied since 1994, which focuses on the leader assisting and challenging people to confront difficult problems. The theoretical underpinnings of this leadership style remain in the development stages, as it is based on ideas, assumptions, and observational data that support this leadership style, and not on established research, as noted by Norhaus. As noted in the Practice of Adaptive Leadership, Heifetz et al. In 2009 defines adaptive leadership as the activity of mobilizing adaptive work. And adaptive work is holding people through a sustained period of disequilibrium during which they identify what cultural DNA to conserve and discard, and invent or discover the new cultural DNA that will enable them to thrive anew, i.e., the learning process through which people in a system achieve a successful adaptation. This is a model that shows the adaptive leadership steps or principles in motion. As noted by Heifetz and Linsky, 2002, the guiding principles of adaptive leadership are used in systems change and could also be used in nursing education to design, implement, and evaluate systems in need of change. Adaptive leadership can aid organizations to break down isolation and competition and promote cooperation, collaboration, and communication, and ultimately lead to stronger relationships. First, you want to get on the balcony, which means to view in an objective manner patterns and problems. Also objectively see one's actions as the leader. Identify the adaptive challenge and recruit people to improve the leader's initiative. And regulate distress, managing conflict to harness their energy and retain the incentive to change and their disciplined attention. Encourage the group to provide feedback, opinions, and ideas. And finally, give work back to the people by involving and empowering the group to adapt and share responsibility for sustainable change, and then hold steady and let the group own the intervention. The framework for adaptive leadership and how it can assist in systems change in nursing education includes observation, interpretation, and intervention. Observe objectively from the balcony and avoid tunnel vision. Notice the patterns and how things are happening. Interpret through a wide lens, listening for the song beneath the words, as Norhaus noted in 2019. Intervene. Reflect your hypothesis about the problem. Be considered an experiment and be in the service of a shared purpose. Norhaus, 2019. Also, what are the resources available for the proposed intervention? This is a follower-centered leadership style rather than a leadership-centered. However, can the leader support the people through work and change in new circumstances when one is faced with difficult problems and needs to adjust? There is a concern with behaviors and how to motivate and organize change in values. The adaptive leader wants to ensure the capacity of their group to thrive, build upon the best from history, and take that into the future. And this can be difficult as change requires distinguishing what is essential to keep from history and what is expendable and needs adaptation. The adaptive leader should encourage experimentation and diversity to generate innovative ideas and a variation in established norms. Advantages of adaptive leadership, as noted by Northouse, include that change is expected and is follower-centered, with the leader initiating the intervention and prepared with a backup plan as needed. Value is placed on the interactive, mutual transaction between leaders and group members. The diversity of ideas and solutions are embraced, and the adaptive leader should create an environment of inclusivity. With change, there can be conflict in personal values, and the adaptive leader is present to help the group adjust to ensure change and adaptation. Followers should learn to adapt, and leaders should set up a context where this is most likely to occur. Utilization of the guiding principles of getting on the balcony, regulating stress, and giving the work back to the group assists with that transition. Holding environment pertains to an adaptive leader providing a safe space for the group to address challenging issues. Disadvantages of adaptive leadership, as noted by Northouse, include, as mentioned previously, the theoretical underpinnings of this leadership style remain in the development stages, as it is based on ideas, assumptions, and observational data that supports this leadership style, but not on established research. Adaptive leadership can be viewed as abstract, and in that it lacks the specificity and clarity in executing the behaviors and guiding principles of the style of leadership and how these factors lead to adaptive change. Is the lack of structure to assist in the fluidity of the change process? The connection between facilitating the change process and adaptive work is not always clearly outlined. The importance an adaptive leader holds in nursing education and the nurse educator role pertains to the need to engage above and below the neck, which includes the mind, the heart, the spirit, and guts. Understanding which followers are in need of facts and logic to mobilize change, and which followers are guided by their hearts. A good leader will possess empathy, connecting with values, beliefs, and stresses one's followers may experience during the adaptation to change, and have the shared purpose. With the productive zone of disequilibrium, during this period of disturbance, a good adaptive leader needs to keep the heat at the right temperature. Acknowledging change will cause discomfort, but assist the followers to tolerate the stress to drive the intervention forward. An adaptive leader will push for a culture of diversity, just as in education. New ideas and voices can ultimately lead to an increased adaptive capacity. A good example of adaptive leadership took place during COVID-19 pandemic and the change that was necessary to make in educational settings and pivoting to virtual learning for a period of time in order to continue meeting educational needs. As stated by Heifetz and Linsky, an educator should view learners as a living system with the goal to survive and thrive. What to preserve from history or DNA and what to purge. What are the vision and values of the intervention? Creating successful new norms and processes will take time and the investment of the mind, heart, and spirit to maintain resilience. An adaptive leader needs to be sensitive in recognizing stress or resistance to change among the followers and counteract it through transparency, building trust, listening to feedback, and creating a safe environment to experiment and also make mistakes. In researching adaptive leadership, the important takeaways that I feel resonated most that will impact my future nurse educator practice includes cultivating one's support system and confidants, who can help sustain one's resilience and energy while also exposing one's vulnerability. When one is consumed with the purpose and the dynamic stress of change within a system, self-care can be forgotten. It is important to create a sanctuary to reflect on circumstances and regain perspective. Thrive or resilience, and renew or transformation. Being optimistic yet realistic through one's reflections on efforts and the process of change to preserve the best history while mobilizing adaptation and change to reestablish norms. With adaptive leadership, one is preserving the majority of the core principles and norms and getting rid of the elements that are impeding the progression. As one leans in to an unknown experiment, a sense of incompetence may be experienced. This is where diversity will play a key role in exploring ideas, interventions, and research findings to take note of great possibilities for the intended intervention. The only way one will make progress with intervention and adaptive leadership is to move forward with decisions. This can create an element of risk, but if the decision does not result in the desired outcome, a lesson was learned and a corrective action from the leader can take place to continue experimenting towards progress. This leadership style focuses on engaging the followers with the leader's intention to assist the group to address problems, deal with challenging situations, and thrive or adapt to changes. The leader identifies a need for change and goes to the balcony to understand the complexity of the issue. If challenges arise, the leader will support the followers to continue mobilization through specific behaviors and principles. These two articles I found beneficial to better understand adaptive leadership. Thank you for your time during this presentation, and these are the references utilized to complete this presentation.